So next up is our panel on the responsible adoption of AI. And I would like to invite our panelists up here to join us on stage. And while they are making their way up to the stage, I am going to introduce the moderator of the panel, who is my colleague, Deval Pandya. And he is our VP of AI Engineering at the Vector Institute. He is passionate about the role of digital technologies in accelerating energy transition and energy equity, as well as about building machine learning teams and products for societal good. In fact, Deval has a fantastic team that he's built at Vector. He holds a doctorate degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in aerospace engineering. Before joining Vector, Deval was leading the data science and machine learning teams at Shell. While in that role, his work spanned across various domains, including predictive maintenance, GHG accounting, power value chain, nature-based solutions, biofuels, and hydrogen. Deval serves as a director of the Technical Steering Committee of Moja Global, a not-for-profit collaborative project that brings together a community of experts to develop open-source software under Linux Foundation using country-level greenhouse gas accounting. Deval is also on the task force for the digitization in energy at the UN Economic Commission of Europe. In his spare time, he enjoys traveling and cooking. Please join me in welcoming Deval to the stage. Where are you, Deval? And our panelists.
Thank you, Melissa.
Oh, there you are. Fantastic.
Yes, here I am, yes. Thanks, Melissa, for that introduction. I would like to welcome, we have like a brilliant panel today, and I'm excited about it. I hope you are as well. First on, we have Jesslyn Dymond. Jesslyn is the Director of Data Ethics at TELUS. Jesslyn leads TELUS' world-class approach for responsible data-driven innovation, and which includes responsible AI portfolio. And one of the most amazing things which she does there is also leading the award-winning Privacy by Design Data for Good program. Welcome on the panel. Next up, we have Shannon, who leads the data and model ethics at Thomson Reuters. She's a member of IAPP Privacy Engineering Board, and she's an expert in recommending privacy and ethics techniques for simplifying governance of data across enterprise. And last, but not the least, I'll try my best to do justice to Tomi's introduction. So Tomi is one of the co-founders of Vector. I'll start there. And he's a serial entrepreneur. He has multiple exits. His current venture, where he's CEO and co-founder, is Signal One, where they are revolutionizing healthcare using machine learning and AI. Welcome to the panel. And mics.
Hello.
So my first question is, like, we are, including me, we all are very interested in learning. What does a day-to-day look like? You have very varied roles, different types of organizations. What does your typical day look like at job?
Okay, is there a typical day in responsible AI at TELUS? Definitely not. I lead our data ethics program, which means I work with lots of different teams across our business and technology groups, supporting their innovative projects, thinking about how we can use technology in a way that builds trust. So it's very unpredictable. I don't think we have a typical day, but what I really enjoy is getting to work with different teams, hearing about their ideas, and really innovating and figuring out how to make things possible when we're really pushing the edges of both technology, AI, and people's expectations.
Yeah, so I would agree. Every day is different, but that's kind of the best part of the job. So you're never walking into the same thing. You're always needing to think creatively to solve problems. My role is the engineering and design lead under the ethics team. And so what that means is I have to go and make sure that all of the right people are at the table to make sure that we're thinking about privacy by design or ethics by design every time we're rolling out a new project or initiative. My team is data and model governance. So we have stakeholders on the model governance side, the data governance side. They're at the table making sure that we're using data effectively, that we aren't introducing any bias into our models. But then also what we need to do is we need to loop in the legal team to make sure that we're compliant. We need to look into the risk team to make sure that we aren't opening ourselves up to any liabilities. So a typical day for me is really just managing expectations and getting the right people into the room at the right time.
Hey. Nice to be here again. I love this venue. So I'm a founder CEO. So as a CEO, you do wear a lot of hats. There are parts of the job that I like a lot, and then there are parts I like less. Talking to lawyers, fundraising. You do a lot.
It a lot,
That's
right?
You do a lot. That's on the negative ledger. But the stuff I really like is the translational aspect of translating computer science into now a clinical realm, and getting to work both with brilliant computer scientists and brilliant, hardworking clinical researchers. There's real magic there. And one of the things that we've did at Signal One, which is unique, is that there are two founding institutions. There is my former employer, TD Bank. They're a partner, they're an investor. There's a number of individuals who joined me from Layer 6, from TD Bank, over to Signal One. And we also share the same AI engine. The Layer 6 engine that's powering the bank is also at the heart of Signal One and now powering a bunch of hospitals. It's really cool. But what that also means is that this collaboration allows me to continue to work and research with my former Layer 6 colleagues. And even though their focus is on banking, my focus now is on healthcare, there's a lot of overlap, certainly from a foundational perspective. So that's one of the things I really enjoy, is to continue to do research on a fundamental computer science and deep learning perspective. And the other founding institution is St. Michael's Hospital. So St. Mike's has a long-standing investment in AI under the leadership of Dr. Mohammed Mambani. He has a team of 30 data scientists that have been at this for 6-7 years. They now have 40, actually it said 50 different AI and data-driven models that they've put into production. It's a pretty unique hospital that focuses on the applied AI part as opposed to the research and the publication part. So St. Michael's assigned a lot of their IP over to Signal One for commercialization, and we have a 5-year collaboration agreement with them. And they stand. There's a team of people that support us, but they also support the efforts that we do. So I'll give you an example of how that might look like. We're trying to apply AI in, I think, the most critical place right now in Canadian healthcare, which is the emergency department. You've read in the news about EDs closing throughout the country, and they're a total mess right now. And we want to bring an AI and data-driven solution to help with patient triage decisions and patient flow decisions and real-time risk scoring in an ED, in a chaotic, crazy ED. So how does a tech startup do that? You have to work in collaboration with clinicians and an emergency department. And at St. Mike's, there's 4 doctors, ED doctors, who are interested in the project. And they spend 2 hours at the Signal One office every 2 weeks, and for the next year, just co-building this product with us. And furthermore, the emergency department, all the nurses and the doctors and the IT staff that support them, they're all collaborating with us on providing us the data, going through the change management, et cetera. So that's amazing, right? So on one hand, I get to dabble with the coders. On the other hand, I look at translating that into probably the most stressed part of the clinical world. And it's only done, it can only be done with partnerships. So that's what I enjoy.
Thanks. And I think this is a good segue to the next question. All of you kind of recognize in some form or the other that collaboration and bringing this multidisciplinary view to solving a problem is very, very important. How are your organizations thinking about responsible AI and bringing in this multidisciplinary approach to responsible AI at the organizational level?
Okay, I can take this one first. At Thomson Reuters, we rely really heavily on a stewardship model. And so within our data and model governance team, we have data stewards and model stewards. And these are individuals who work directly with the business functions. So any advice that comes down from the legal team or from the ethics team, we can relay that information to the stewards. And then it's the stewards who can go out to the business functions and help them actually be able to adopt this information. Having stewards attached to specific business functions means that they're actually getting into the weeds on what each of the different functions is doing and understands how their business will be influenced by the advice that we're giving.
Well, we have been looking at responsible AI for some time, and when we talk about responsible AI, it's really important to understand what we mean by responsible. And for TELUS, that's part of how we put our customers first. So we did research starting in 2019 to really understand from Canadians what they're looking for, expecting, concerned about, thinking about when it comes to AI. And that has really shaped our program and remains a core part of that implementation model. So consulting with Canadians, hearing from our customers, it needs to kind of guide the objectives of what we're working towards. And interestingly, while we've heard a lot of fear and concern, we've also heard a lot of curiosity, a desire to understand what is AI? How does it work? How will it impact me? So whenever we're launching an AI project, thinking about how we're going to communicate that in a way that people can understand and learn from is absolutely essential. To put this into practice across our organization, it truly is a team effort, like you were saying, Deval. So we have a cross-functional, responsible AI squad, lots of squads, lots of agile things happening to just keep up with the pace and the iteration of what we're seeing in the AI space right now. So I can tell you, one of our first meetings of the year was to get some guidance together around ChatGPT and tackling generative AI, knowing that we have thousands of team members across the country who are hearing about this technology, wanting to use it, thinking about how it's going to impact their work. And so just having that eye towards what's happening externally, partnering with the research community to understand ways we can embed controls and really achieve those outcomes that Canadians are looking for from our AI projects is part of what we really need to do to have responsible AI in place and what we do as an organization in our responsible AI program.
So Tomi, sorry to interrupt before you answer that. I'll add like one more layer because you already talked about the collaborative part of this answer, but can you tell us a little bit more in your response here? How do you build trust in these models as part of being responsible when decision-making stakes are very high as in healthcare?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me tell you about my feelings about AI governance and responsible AI, because they've shifted and I've matured. I've learned myself. So I started my career as a software engineer in Silicon Valley, where I got into machine learning early, before it was really a thing. There was a couple of, what really made machine learning work at scale were papers that came out of Berkeley in 1997 and then 99. And I was in Silicon Valley at the same time. And nobody could get these things productized. And that was my role as a software design engineer, was to try to see, well, can we get machine learning to work? And I was working on web search. I was working at Yahoo search back when it was relevant. And that was my task. So I built the very first machine learning-based ranking algorithm to rank web pages and ads, a very valuable part of big tech stack. And then I did it again at Microsoft Bing. And it was interesting, there was no concept of responsible AI. You just needed to prove that your algorithm was better than the other algorithm. Now, up till then, there's this huge mental shift of getting computer scientists to be comfortable with a black box. Because up till then, you literally had a room full of PhDs debating how to turn the dials on a ranking algorithm. And to tell them that, hey, just trust the machine. It knows better than you do. It's a huge mental shift. And then I came back to Toronto, built Layer 6, serving banks, sold to TD Bank, and boy, was I hit with like AI governance. And I was rebelling against our model validation and our risk team. They're called the second line of defense. And we spent longer on model validation than we did on model development. And I think it's pretty standard. And I was not liking it a lot. But I came to appreciate it over time and learned that as long as the rules are set and you understand how you need to show the robustness of the models, good coders can adopt and they can codify the process. And having gone through that process, we actually convened the body of other fintechs and Vector and others. We wrote a public memo for responsible AI in financial services. And so that was 2019, published that, and I think that's become a bit of a guide mark. Even for a bank just to publish that at that age, at that time, was quite progressive. And then when I started Signal One, I thought, okay, I'm going from one regulated industry into a space that's probably going to even be more regulated because lives are at stake. And I was really surprised that there isn't much regulation in healthcare. And now I miss it. And I think the healthcare industry really needs to level up on AI models and responsible deployment of them. I've seen so many AI models in healthcare that were built by a data scientist, fit some historical data, put into production, and there it runs and runs and runs. The data scientist is long gone, and it continues to run. And that doesn't seem very responsible to me. And so one of the things that we really lean in as a company, which is very natural to our history of having come through financial services, is around AI governance. And the practices that we're bringing to healthcare, I think, are really leading, and I think that the regulators will eventually catch up and improve AI regulation in healthcare as well. You asked a question, but I've been talking a lot about how to build trust between end users and the algorithm. I think my one point there is that you can't have a black box in a setting like certainly in a healthcare setting, when it's a choice of whether to treat somebody with this or that. You can't just like make a blind recommendation without providing some degree of insights to the decision maker.
Thanks. I know we've been talking a bit more tactical and governance. I think I have a bit more of a philosophical question. Say moral philosophy and ethics means different things to different people. It means different things in different cultures. How does an organization the size of your organization even define what ethics is for them? And then what does that translate into ethics for machine learning or AI?
I can start again. I struggled with this quite a bit when I got into my role. My background is privacy. I've always worked in privacy for about 11 years now, and so I can tell you the 10 privacy principles. I can tell you how to minimize data, how to not only use what you need with respect to personal information. But when I interviewed for this role, they really kept challenging me to be like, but ethics, how do you use data ethically? And I struggled with that question a lot. I did a lot of research to prepare for the role that I was in, and it was actually not until earlier this month when I started actually taking a course specifically designed to understand data ethics that it started to become clear to me. What this course did is it compared virtue ethics with data ethics and how you can actually take your virtue ethics and how you make steps to live a virtuous life and apply that to how you review and assess models. And so things that I pride myself in my career is that I speak very candidly with my business units. I'm very honest if something isn't working, that they have to switch it, and I give recommendations and I stick by my morals for how they need to implement these different products. And to me, that was the virtue ethic that makes the products better by having my input in them, because I'm able to actually sit down with the business and understand all of the nuances in what they're trying to do, why they think that what they're doing is the best way forward, and then I can challenge that. But I can challenge it after I understand what they're doing. And so having those honest, frank conversations and just being able to have the courage to challenge what they're saying and be truthful with them really allows me to bring my virtues into like the ethical review of a project.
Wow, that's a great tie-in between your ethics individually and what you do professionally. For me, I think it's so important to keep that in mind. And like I was saying about deciding what is responsible, like that's kind of an ethical question. And when we think about ethics, it's really about doing your work in a way that's consistent with your virtues, your values, the principles, including privacy principles, because it's about what we value as a society. And I think that's so important for us to embed into our AI products and services. And deciding what those values are, well, it's a big discussion that we need to have. Organizationally, I've found using our own corporate values and principles and layering in the machine learning and technical aspect of those and connecting the dots between those values and the tools and techniques we use really helps people understand what they're doing with the technology. So that idea of putting customers first. If you can't answer that question about your project, your model, your initiative, it's probably something we need to talk about. And I think Vector has released kind of a set of principles around AI, and that's very similar to what you'll see in many organizations that helps guide how to behave ethically and how to build things in accordance with the ethics of data.
As a startup founder, I'm not sure there's much I can add here, but it's one of the things that's wonderful about Canada is around how, we've got places like Vector, the government, large enterprises all debating what AI ethics should be. And I think Canada can set a mark globally on this question. So as a small startup, what do we do? One of the things that we did early on, we codified what our values are as a company. Normally startups don't really do that until much later in life, but we thought it would be important for us to debate that right at the start. And it's on our careers page. We've actually publicly listed, here are the 4 values that make us different. And I think if we attract people that all share in those values, rooted at the principle of doing good, I think that then the ethics and the culture we're trying to develop are also going to be reflective of the services that we offer.
Like there's got to be an alignment there, and I think that's a great point. It's sometimes the case that people have the right intention but may not have the right awareness, and so like that push and pull between sharing what the values are and finding people who have those values and kind of thinking about how to integrate them and connect them with the work we do is so important.
Thank you. And Tomi, I couldn't agree more. Like, Canada has a unique opportunity to be the leader in this space, and we are doing that. So thanks for the shout out on that. It would be amiss if I didn't ask this question from your perspective. What are the biggest risks that AI poses today? Not in the distant future, but today.
Big risks. I honestly, I just see so much opportunity. It would be such a miss for us not to fully leverage AI. The way that we often think about, like, what's the contribution of somebody like Signal One to the healthcare industry? The peril for us is the stethoscope. Imagine healthcare before a doctor had a stethoscope. They could listen to the heart and the lungs. And how could you prescribe treatment without that insight? Or similarly, the microbiology lab, or an X-ray, like diagnostic imaging. I think data-driven decisions with AI helps you truly understand the patient and unlock the knowledge in the world's medical literature to provide better healthcare. That's the promise. and it'd be, that's what we're gunning for. Of course, there's a lot of, risks that the Musks in the world talk about, but the opportunity and the promise is, in my opinion, so much greater than the risks.
Well, I think building upon that, there is the promise, and that risk perhaps is that we don't have trustworthy AI, where people feel like they do want these improvements to take place. And so if people don't trust the technology, if we've lost them, I don't know, I just saw the preview for like this new AI movie that looks very scary, and there are plenty of those in our past, and a lot of sentiment of fear being expressed in media and by tech personalities. And so we need to really accelerate our literacy and help people understand what this technology is, how it can work, what should be in place for it to be operating safely and ethically. And that is the biggest risk, I think, missing those opportunities.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think the risk comes with the decisions and not understanding how those decisions are being made. But one of the things that also kind of scares me a little bit about AI is it feels like the robots are making all of the decisions, and it's taking away some of that human connection. Like in healthcare, I love now that we have apps that can help diagnose things or help us get care more timely. But there's also some things that I like being able to go and talk to directly with my doctor. Or there's like some nuances that maybe aren't just strictly diagnostic, like maybe there's some like emotional or mental component to the things that I am feeling. And so being able to actually have that human in the loop component, I think is going to be really, really helpful as AI starts to build out and become more apparent in everything we do.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is, like, I think the biggest risk right now is not being able to leverage all the good this technology has the potential to deliver for us. Let's say, moving into the future, we are in 2100, years 2100. What does the world look like from your perspective with how this technology is moving and where it's moving?
This is a great question, and I had some fun thinking about it. So we've said a lot about trust and where we're going and how we kind of keep this human-centric. And some of the things you'll hear about that is we should have explainable and transparent AI, human-led decisions, but I think we really need to think that through and be careful. Like, when we get on airplanes, we don't know how the airplane works. We trust that the pilot is fully equipped to do their job, and the entire airline industry, serves us in that regard, getting us from point A to point B safely. And so 2100, I'd like to see the hype of AI kind of more just become buzz, like electricity. We all use it. We know there are places where it shouldn't be used, like the bathtub, but we see it being very helpful and making a difference in each of our lives in a way that is safe and trustworthy. And so I'm hoping we kind of get that AI layer going because of the opportunities that we can unleash if we get this right.
And I think that makes sense, though. Like, I think because we're having these conversations right now and because we're building all of the hype on what could AI be, when we get to 2100, we will be in that state where we just know that it works properly. Like, I'm pretty sure when airplanes first came out, we didn't get on it and be like, yeah, it's cool, they got it. Like, we'll be fine. Like, same with cars. Like, there was a lot of trial and error with, like, bringing out the automobile. But because of that trial and error, fast forward so many years from now, we're confident that we've worked out the biggest high-risk bugs and that we can rely on it to work effectively.
Is there another movie coming?
Wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to tap all the world's knowledge with a co-pilot in your life? Web search made the world's information accessible, but it's still really hard to search the web pages and understand it. ChatGPT shows you kind of a promise of being able to have a conversation with a bot, but there's a lot of hallucination, you can't really trust it. These are solvable problems. The remarkable thing that I think AI, and as an AI co-pilot in your life, is you can tap the world's knowledge. And if you're trying to solve any problem, you can ask yourself questions like, what would Einstein do in this case? And work with your AI agent to kind of, understand that body of science, translate it into your, level of understanding and your particular need. And I think that that's an amazing enabler for human kind of creativity and capability. That's what I am embracing my AI overlords. But I don't see them as AI overlords. I see it as an incredible enabler of massively expanding my own, not that I'm going to be alive in 100 years, but my grandchildren's own capability.
So no flying cars, no teleportation.
Oh, sure. Not teleportation, flying cars, sure. I don't think that's the big, like self-driving cars, that's a small step along the way of massively empowering humanity.
Yeah. So the last question I have for all of you is, if you are starting your career right now, what's one advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, I got that one. Stick with the math. That's it. It's like, I remember in high school and early on, I was like, what's this going to be good for? And anyway, math, important.
Math terrifies me. So I am one of those people who did not stick with the math. But I made sure to find those people in the room that I just found fascinating and just learn more about what they do. So just being open-minded and just letting your curiosity forge your path for you. Like, I've been in so many different roles, and if I had asked myself 5 years ago if I was going to be a privacy ethics engineer at Thomson Reuters, I would have said no way. Like, I was still working in healthcare. I was in the public sector, helping figure out health system planning. My career has taken so many twists and turns, but only because I was open-minded enough to be like, yeah, you know what, this looks really cool. Data's super interesting to me. I'm going to take the risk and I'm going to take on this new role and see what I can learn from it. And then when that role wasn't serving me anymore, I did the same thing, and I just continued to let my curiosity guide me.
Yes, curiosity is key. That's such a great tip. And I'm going to round us out by saying, take an ethics course and have some fun with it. I think there's so much we can learn from other ways of knowing. I'd really challenge you to think about where and how we do tap into the world's knowledge, because not all of it is on the internet and available to be consumed today. So there are many different ways of knowing and understanding who we are and how we live. And I think being familiar with that diversity will really set you up to have really important conversations as this technology continues to evolve.
Thank you. This was a great conversation. We can all agree Canada is a really brilliant place to be if you're in AI right now, and we have a huge opportunity in front of us. And thanks to all of you in leading the path forward with us. Thanks for joining us.